Good afternoon. It's Betty Shan again. We're sitting outside on our patio, my patio again, and there's a breeze a blowing every once in a while. And you see my hair go wild, you'll know that, well, she's outside in the wind. This breeze feels good though. It was 102 degrees a while ago, and it's supposed to get hotter today. But we had an enjoyable day yesterday. We drove over to Midland, Texas, and went shopping a little bit, and took Connor with us, me and one of my daughters. And we went into a Goodwill store. Connor's looking for him a purple tie, and we can't find no purple tie. I told him, I said, don't take me in there. You know better than taking me in places like this, 'cause I look for little trinkets that I don't need. I've got plenty of them. But anyway, we found us a little dog, and I've got to show you my little dog. And he's got a clock in him, but he's a cute little old thing. And he was sitting there on that shelf all by himself, and I thought, well, he'll go good on my little shelf, so I had to pick him up. But we had a blessed day. We enjoyed eating out. We eat at I went blank.
Willows.
Oh, we eat at Abuelo's is where we eat. And then we started in back to Hobbs, and Connor wanted to bite for supper, so we stopped at Hobbs and ate at Rosa's. But we had a real enjoyable day. It was real nice for us all to be together. But I was thinking this morning about my grandfather. Here it is, Father's Day again. And my grandfather Burkham passed away before I was even born. But I remember a story about my grandfather, how that he had planted a crop of wheat that year. They lived in Childress, Texas at the time. And he had planted a crop, and that crop had grew, and he had a beautiful crop. But a storm come up the night. They didn't have, the day before, he didn't have the equipment to have the grain, whatever they do to get the grain together. But they didn't have the equipment together, so he was going to do that the next day when he they loaned the equipment out to each other. And he was going to do it the next morning. Well, during the night, a storm come up, a hailstorm come up, and it just beat that crop plumb into the ground. Mama said that Grandpa went into the living room, said he lifted up that shade and looked out over that field where he had his grain planted that was going to be their livelihood for the year. And so that grain was just literally beat into the ground. And she said that's the only time I ever seen my daddy cry. She said, I seen my daddy cry, Jeff Burkham cry. He stood and cried because he lost that crop that was going to be their income for the year, that helped provide them with school shoes and food and things they had to have for the year. Of course, they made it. They done other things to make a living. But sometimes we as wives and we as children don't stop to tell our dads thank you. We just take them more or less for granted. And I know that a woman, if she's not told once in a while she's appreciated and she's loved, I know how they feel. But I've thought back many a time, I wonder how our husbands feel and how our daddies feel when we never put our arms around them and say, Daddy, you've been good. You've raised us and you've provided for us for all these years. I remember one time that I could tell my husband was down a little bit. I lost him in 2018, and I could tell he was down a little bit, and I thought, well, if I worked every day as hard as he works, do I show him enough appreciation for what he's done? I remember putting my arms around him and telling him, Edgel, you have been a great provider for our family. We've never, ever had to do without anything that you provided for us, and you've been a good provider. And he was a good daddy. But, he made his mistakes, but he also was a breadwinner of the family, and he did provide for his family. And I appreciate him for that. And today, put your arm around that husband of yours, or that son of yours, and tell them how proud you are of them for what they've done for their families and what they've done for you. And pray that God will bless them for their efforts and their work, because we're living in a hard world. Sometimes it's hard to have to provide for a family and care for a family during this time, especially with things going up like it is, and all the things that's going on in this old world. That you just put your arms around them today and tell them thank you for being who they are. And I want you to keep your chin up, smile, and live for the Lord.